Darkpress presents Speak of the Devil, a laid-back magical chat with Adam and Darian Darkly.
Greetings, Darklings. I'm Adam.
And I'm Darian.
Here is a dictionary definition of the word divination. The practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown by a supernatural means. You need not be a witch to practice divination. However, divination is a foundational skill developed by most witches. In this episode, we will rifle off 10 of the most common tools used in the practice of divination.
Number 1, the pendulum. Usually a conical crystal or metal bobber on the end of a cord or small chain. The bobber end swings freely. The pendulum may be used to answer simple yes or no questions. There are lots of little mats and diagrams out there now that you can use with your pendulum to broaden the range of its communication. I have used mine effectively to find lost items and to communicate with the dead.
Number 2 is tarot, cartomancy, or oracle cards. So, with tarot, cartomancy, and oracle cards, there are three major distinctions to make. Tarot is typically thought of as forms of tarot such as the Rider-Waite. It's a form of a system of tarot in and of itself. Cartomancy is more so seen as a folk magic form of playing card reading, or reading with some form of tarot or playing cards. Oracle cards are kind of in a class of their own, where it's a bit more than just, reading them for a tarot reading. It's more so for a bit of revelation. The cards have specific images that can depict other things. It's kind of like tarot on another level. I find that, I believe in my own work, I use playing cards along the same lines as I have learned to read with tarot. I find that tarot and playing cards, they tell a story. They're easy to learn, easy to work with when it comes to divination, and they're even great for spell work. But I find I have great success reading with tarot or playing cards because it lays it all out there right in front of you, and all you really have to do is discern and take a deeper look. The third form of divination is runes, or throwing bones. I have been learning to work with runes over the years, and I find it's one of the most powerful and deep, thorough forms of divination that's out there. It's the most powerful form, most certainly for taking a very deeper look, much more than maybe a surface reading like one might get with tarot. With runes, there's far more that's going on and at play, and it definitely makes you work for it.
Number 4, scrying mirror or bowl, and crystal balls. The scrying mirror I have used multiple times in communication with spirits. The bowl is often used in scrying, filled with ink. Nostradamus, the prophet, utilized this technique. And then crystal balls. The crystal ball is very effective. My experience with a crystal ball, however, some people describe like the glass becoming murky and then clearing up into a scene or like divinatory vision that's beheld within the glass. In my experience, for me anyway, the visions were internal, like in my head, but they were extremely accurate and vivid. In fact, so much so that I actually could not sleep at night. After I first got my crystal ball, I would have visions continually, and it became disruptive to sleeping and just ordinary activities. So I made a veil to go over my crystal ball, and when I did that, that subsided. And then when I would remove the veil, then I would have access to divinatory information. The next one, the elements. It is possible to use nature around you to divine, staring at pictures in the clouds or in murky water, patterns on the ground or in tree bark, or gazing into a fire. And number 6, omens. Akin to reading the elements, there may be synchronistic signs that occur in the animal kingdom. If you encounter an animal that particularly stands out to you, even if it's a common animal, but for some reason this particular time it just sticks with you, look up the totem meaning of the animal, and you may be surprised how directly it speaks to a situation in your life. I was walking to work one afternoon when out of the tall grass a large black rat ran across the end of my shoe. I knew that death was coming very close to me. I knew that it meant my beloved uncle, who had been sick for several months, was about to die, and the next morning I received the news of his passing.
Number 7, Ouija boards or witch boards. This is a form of divination that I haven't had that much experience in using personally. Darian and I have tried our hand at it a few times, but more so I have more of a knowledge, understanding of Ouija boards and their history and their use in contacting the dead and contacting certain spirits and powers, and of course being very much so like a pop culture icon that has been used in the past 30 to 40 years to open portals and hell mouths to the underworld. Number 8 is instruments. This can include drums and rattles. This is something that I have a lot of experience in working in. When I first began, maybe about 10 years ago, working in animistic and shamanic, ecstatic, work and healing and altered states, drums and rattles served and still do today as powerful aids to enter trance, to shift one's consciousness, to build up energy, to call forth spirits and powers, and more. Number 9 is dice. A form of this that many may have heard of. If you work in fortune telling or folk magic, you might have heard of gypsy duckering, which is a form of basically dice divination. It would typically, there's a set system in some of the books and some of the materials that I've read over the years in my research where it's 18 or 24, and you would basically utilize maybe 2 or 4, like a set of die that you would cast, and then whatever it landed on, that was kind of like what it was foretelling going forward. So it's definitely a very interesting form of divination nonetheless.
And number 10 is palmistry. Palmistry is the art of reading the lines and mounds of the human hand to determine such things as a person's love life, their potential for wealth, and how long they're going to live. And now let's share some tips for divining. First, I would like to recommend that you remember that the props are merely a conduit for your psychic power. The power doesn't come from the props. This is why you can literally divine with anything, because the power is not in the tool you're using, but in you. Another recommendation: ask for signs when you need them. Most gods and spirits that you would be working with in a magical setting or in divination are more than happy to provide signs that you're kind of on the right path when you're determining the meaning in a divinatory situation. And the last one I'd like to share is don't be a doomsayer. Look for good things when you divine, and do not take every sign to mean something bad. Trust me, when an omen is bad, you will absolutely know it. But in my experience, it will not make you afraid. It will shore you up and make you ready.
A few tips that I have for those who are beginning in divination, discernment, sortilege, augury, or maybe those who can stand to benefit but have been practicing for years. One of the biggest things that I always share with those that I'm teaching divination and reading tarot is to trust what you see. In our world, there's so many things known, unknown, hidden, and amongst many other things, it's really important to have a solid discernment, something that you can trust via divination. And so, like I said, quite literally trusting what you see, trusting that when you call forth a power or a spirit, you're communing with them, they share a vision. When you do like a certain reading or cast the die, that you trust what comes up. And then one of the most important tips going further is to take action. When something comes up and something's revealed, or the next best step is revealed via, say, like a tarot or playing card reading, to take action, to see it to its end, then you will be able to confirm, and it will basically build your confidence towards reading as well. But being able to do a reading, to get an idea of the next step, to take that step and then see how well it plays out. This is something I found that has served me well working in shamanic journeying, where I would be basically taken or showed things or given visions as I was traveling through other worlds and realms, and then I could bring that back and take a physical action according to that. And then I would see that not only were the spirits were correct, but there was more at play than I even knew. So definitely trust your gut, trust what you see, and take action.
That's all the time we have for this episode. If you'd like to learn more about divination, check out our divination classes at Darkly School of Witchcraft coming this fall. If you love the show, show us some love. Like, subscribe, share us with your friends and lovers, shop at Devil's Conjure, or buy us a coffee.
Next week's episode is called The Devil Himself. Darian and I will be discussing the origins of the devil and some lesser known facts about Old Scratch. So don't miss it.